On the seafront, back live on the commentary point now for the arrival of the Fairy Swordfish. What a treat for Peter, who's celebrating his 76th birthday today. Happy birthday, Peter, from Blake and all the family. But what a treat to see this aircraft, this biplane, beautifully, gracefully arriving from, just checking where it, Old Warden. The Fairy Swordfish is coming from. Local IQ has sponsored this display here at the Clacton Air Show today. And the Fairy Swordfish is a remarkable aircraft. We had with us here in Clacton last year Jonathan Hearn, who came all the way from Australia to see the Fairy Swordfish. He is listening to Radio Air Show in Australia right now because his dad flew a Fairy Swordfish. So a very special aircraft, a stalwart of the Second World War for its successful operations and of course its involvement in the sinking of the Bismarck. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. This is the oldest surviving airworthy Fairy Swordfish in the world, first flying on Trafalgar Day, the 21st of October 1941, serving with the Royal Navy's Mediterranean Fleet for a year. Little known really of her role while on active service in the Mediterranean, but it's likely that she was based at North Front Gibraltar, carrying out patrols over the Straits before returning to Fairy's Stockport factory for refurbishment during winter 1942 to 43. It's incredible after all of those years, Sam Williams, that this aircraft is able to be here and display with us today, isn't it?
It really is so special to see any of the aircraft that date as far back as the early part of World War II. And last year was such a poignant moment to meet the gentleman whose father had flown in the Swordfish, talking to us about the Arctic missions. It really was such an important part of World War II.
So you can see the black and white stripes on both of the bi-wing of the aircraft as she comes now
Interesting choice of colour.
Towards on the seafront with a little of a waggle, an up and a down of the wings. We're getting a beautiful, graceful view of the Swordfish.
Why is it a popcorn? I don't like this old music. Stupid old music. But I'm not.
So the first Swordfish flew in 1934 and was taken into Royal Navy service as the Swordfish Mark I. By the start of World War II, the technology had moved on apace and it was already regarded as obsolete, but of a large number of them already in service, it was nonetheless put to good use, and it earned its nickname String Bag, because like the shopping bags of the day, it could accommodate practically anything. It could carry a 1,610-pound torpedo on a variety of depth charges, bombs, mines, rockets or flares. But despite the cutting edge of engine technology in 1934, it only managed to propel the Swordfish at a stately 90 knots cruise within a lightly laden and 82 knots with a torpedo underslung, although it did prove to be a very reliable engine. The crew of 3 on board were not afforded too much comfort, there being no heater and just fabric coverings and an open cockpit, affording little shelter from the cold in winter. But the aircraft was highly manoeuvrable and not many disparaging marks were ever made about it, except perhaps its lack of speed. This did, however, work in its favour because enemy guns found it difficult to offset their sighting on such a slow target.
Those markings that we discussed are the D-Day invasion stripes that the Swordfish is wearing. As of last year, to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, it really is very striking. Not only the black and white stripes on the wing, but also on the main fuselage. Really marking it out in the skies above Clacton. Sun just glinting on the wing as she climbs up into the skies, banking around so gracefully.
Now, we talked about earlier about probably the most important role of the Swordfish played during the World War II conflict was that of the protection of the Atlantic and Arctic convoys. A large proportion of the war material needed to come from North America in convoys of ships, and they were being savaged by the German submarine packs. 3 types of shipping were employed: naval aircraft carriers, escort carriers, and finally merchant aircraft carriers working on oilers or grain ships with a flat deck welded above the hull, known as Mac ships. The Swordfish had the essential low-speed handling characteristics to operate from these often small flight decks, and yet still boasted a 4-hour endurance in the air. With constant daylight air cover, the submarines were kept below the surface, where they were unable to move more than 7 knots, thus rendering them less effective. The Swordfish actually sank 21 submarines over the course of the war, whilst escorting Arctic convoys to North Russia, and they were responsible for the highest tonnage of enemy shipping sunk by any Allied aircraft type. The aircraft was incredibly versatile and had the distinction of being one of the few aircraft that remained in operational service throughout World War II, even outlasting its intended replacement, the Albacore.
Now, the Battle of Taranto took place on the night of the 11th and 12th of November 1940 during the Second World War between British naval forces and Admiral Andrew Cunningham and Italian naval forces. The Royal Navy launched...
Red arrows are red.
The name Raven comes from a play on the letters RB. We're ready for some pure entertainment this afternoon.
And very rare, Sam, to have a civilian aerobatic team of this number.
These are white arrows. Oh, look at it. I heard a red arrow. Oh, you are not.
Aerobatics from them as 4 have stayed in formation. 2 have peeled off towards the pier. The 4 in the formation have gone to the right. The sun really is glinting on these white aircraft now. We're going South Field aircraft, like you saw with the fire.
Handling, make it perfect formation flying. And just looking centre crowd there, we've got a 4-ship formation twirling.
No, she's southern. She wins it. She carries it.
Smoke trailing.
No, if you win it, you carry it. If I won it, I'll carry it. But if you win it, you'll carry it.
They'll be looking at the lead pilot's wings to make sure they maintain their accurate position. As they move from the 4-ship formation, one of the aircraft breaks away. And then
That needs to be recorded. I should
Left, right, and now the 3 that work together head down to the sea, splitting off in different directions and heading out over the wind farm. Beautiful.
249.09 miles per hour.
So many wing-overs today from this helicopter. It's absolutely incredible, and I love both Gulf Wars. The Lynx AH-7 was replaced in the anti-tank role in 2005 by the Apache and was eventually retired from support roles in August 2015, 10 years ago.
Try zooming in. I know it's a really awkward scene picking planes, especially when you're trying to record them.
It would be bigger with different view. It's looking at us.
The crowd with that wonderful cover. Good job, yeah, thank you. I know a lot of people are waving. A good time to wave to our pilot. He will see you making a very graceful turn. We've seen the sides, the bottom, the other sides.
If I zoom any closer, it's going to blur. It's going backwards. That is just showing off.
Anti-tank search and rescue, escort and reconnaissance missions. Then in 1981, the British Fleet Air Arm received their first services. The naval version incorporated many changes, including wheels instead of skids, sonar, radar, different sensors used for anti-shipping, anti-submarine, and
You alright?
Here's a quick version of the Lynx